whether you are somebody who drives to work or takes public transportation, uh, and especially if you live in urban centers or commuting from peri-urban or outside the cities into cities for work and so on, you probably experience congestion no matter which part of the world you live in. So mobility is obviously increased by all the vehicles and various other transportation modes that have evolved over the last century or so. But congestion has now become a big part of this daily grind, as well as even long distance travel. For example, if you want to go from New York City to Washington and drive or take a bus, you're going to experience some congestion on the beltways and parkways along the way. So the number of vehicles in the billions, including cycles, scooters, trucks, buses, and cars, have increased pretty non-linearly over the last many decades and are projected to continue to increase in the decade that we are in, from 2020 to 2030. So in the future, this increase in cycles and scooters, especially if they are electric scooters, that's somewhat of a good news, but you can see that the number of trucks and buses is not necessarily reducing. But then again, if we remember, already many light duty vehicles and heavy duty vehicles are going fuel cells and batteries and hydrogen fuel, etc., then maybe this is not necessarily associated with as much increase in pollution, we hope. Number of cars continues to increase pretty dramatically in terms of billions across the world, which is kind of an indication that people are still not expecting public transportation to be convenient enough or fun enough to take. So no matter what, this is going to have some congestion issues, if not emission of greenhouse gases and criteria pollutants that we discussed in the last chapter. So even in a country like India, vehicle ownership continues to go up, but if you look at the numbers of 2016 and so on. For India, it's 2015. For China, it's 2018. Germany, 2015, and so on. Vehicles per 1,000 people, which is a convenient number to look at, aggregates large enough samples. So you can see that US has almost 825, 30 or so per 1,000 people. Okay, and considering that typically a household owns 3 cars, that's going to make some people rely heavily on public transportation and live without cars, whereas some will own multiple cars. Canada, Spain, Japan, and so on drop continuously. France and UK almost similar in 2016. China drops and India drops quite further down here. But if we actually look at the numbers in India, this is number of vehicles registered by year in India. Two-wheelers are things like scooters and motorcycles and so on. Four-wheelers are essentially cars, jeeps, SUVs, light duty vehicles, etc. And you can see that the numbers go up in terms of millions here, not billions, from 2001 to 2013, and the trend has obviously continued into more recent times and is projected to continue as well. But India also relies a lot on motorbikes, which are a convenient mode of transportation and can manage congestions a little better. While they're dangerous in terms of traffic accidents and injuries and deaths, even large families travel on motorcycles in India, and you can see, you can find many funny images of many people sitting on a bicycle, on a motorbike, and traveling, which is dangerous, especially because most of the time they don't wear helmets. Okay, so going back to here, evolution of transportation monoculture in the US. So look at a little bit of the history. 1859, first U.S. oil well discovered. 1908, the Model T Ford with ICE debuts, internal combustion engine that is. 1926, U.S. transit ridership reaches highest peacetime levels. 30 car ownership reaches 200 for every 1,000 Americans. Now it is almost close to 800 and something. 1947, after the war, suburban building boom begins following World War II. U.S. interstate highway system is launched in 56. Arab oil embargo constricts supply in the 1970s. Iran-Iraq war doubles oil prices in the late 1970s. 2000, first hybrid electric car sold in the US. In 2003, car ownership reaches 1.15 vehicle per American driver. 2005, motor vehicle population worldwide exceeds 1 billion. Crude oil hits 140 per barrel in 2008. The financial crisis hits the U.S. market and then cascades into the world financial markets. 2016, crude oil drops below $30 per barrel. And in 2018, 1 million electrical vehicles sold in the U.S. alone. So we have seen that those numbers are going up as well. As for congestion, the cities with the worst traffic congestion in 2018, sadly, poor countries like India, Colombia, Peru, Russia, Turkey, Indonesia, Thailand, it's all poor countries up here, maybe except Ireland and who else? Yeah, pretty much everybody is a developing country. So these are percentages of extra travel time due to congestion. 65% extra time in Mumbai. That's not good news. And surprisingly, by 2019, it's a Bengaluru that takes over and has 71% extra time instead of Mumbai. Mumbai is down here till at 65%, but Bengaluru has grown. It's the electronic city, the Silicon Valley of India as it is referred to, but still it's all the developing countries on this list of congestion, which explains the monumental air pollution problems in most of these countries as well, which adds a huge cost. So what is the cost of congestion? These costs include in the US more than 3 billion gallons of fuel wasted annually, more than 2.6 million extra metric tons of CO2 per year being emitted into the atmosphere, nearly 7 billion extra hours in travel time valued at roughly 160 billion, equivalent to 42 hours and $960 per rush hour commuter. That's not good news, right? So you can put values in many ways, but none of them is any good news. So air pollution, emissions, so greenhouse gas emissions, as well as criteria pollutants, productivity lost, economy takes a hit, and just the standard of living and quality of life suffers a lot. Nobody enjoys sitting in traffic, right? Especially in cities like LA and New York and DC and so on. It's not fun if you have to drive every day for a couple of hours or longer just to get to work and back.